This limited Kintsugi Heroes podcast series was made possible through grant funding provided by the New South Wales Department of Communities and Justice Connecting Seniors Grant Program. If you'd like to find out more about Kintsugi Heroes, head over to kintsugiheroes.com.au. Welcome back to our Kintsugi Heroes special series Connecting Seniors. This year we are continuing to share the experiences of ageing Australians to create connections across our communities. In this episode of Connecting Seniors, we're revisiting a conversation from Kintsugi Heroes with a senior who is making an impact on the world by connecting with his community. This week we hear John Millam's conversation with Bob Eden. Enjoy this episode.
So, Bob Eden, welcome to Kintsugi Heroes, mate. Stories that matter, and today it's your story.
Oh, fabulous.
So, mate, we've spent some time, in the past chatting about your story. I reckon I know a fraction of the things that you've done. You keep coming up with new things. So to make sure I don't miss too much, mate, I know that you're a craftsman, you're a sailor, what else are you, mate? Can you take us back to little Bob and perhaps give us a hint of how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, and thank you for giving me so much leeway. So before I go back there, I just like to set the scene and tell you who or what I am today, how I am today. And for me, I am master and commander of this life that I do create, and I take full responsibility for it. And under that umbrella, I drive my life by two simple principles. And the first one is the KISS principle, keep it simple, sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I changed it because I realized in my journey that the words I consciously choose to use actually create my reality. So I changed it to keep it simple, sovereign, because I am sovereign, and I believe we're all sovereign. And then the second principle is something I coined about 15 years ago, and that's the SUE principle, SUE, and that just stands for all are sovereign, unique, and equal. And for me, everything else just flows from that, coming from that standpoint, everything. So my life is really, really simple now. When my body's tired, we sleep. When my body's awake, we play. I've only got this, for me, there's only one law, and that's do no harm. And I've only got one right, and that's the right of self-determination. And by God, do I exercise that.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you've already brought up the word sovereign, right? Which is, the concept, you please adjust me if I'm getting it wrong, but in your terms, it's the concept of you being, you mentioned master and commander, but you're actually the emperor of your life, right?
Yeah, I'm the captain of my ship, yeah.
Captain. And speaking of ships, so if I can, push you back to little Bob, because I want to see how you became an emperor, master, commander, captain, all in one go, right? So, what kicked little Bob off, mate, on his journey?
Well, I was born in 52 in the Royal Canadian Hospital in Taplow in Buckinghamshire. I was about 2 months premature. I was cesarean. I was 2 pounds at birth. Mum never forgave me for the scar on her belly, and I don't know why I chose the family that I did, but and for me, all the damage is done in the first 7 years.
Yeah.
So my childhood, Dad was absent. He was doing what dads did then, bringing home the bacon, but I never saw him, because he was too busy living his programming. And Mum was a volcano, and she would just randomly explode. So I used to get beaten whether I was good or bad, which is a bit of a mind for a young kid.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to manage to work out a pathway through that minefield.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so the lessons I learned from mum was mum has always beaten me, therefore she does not love me, therefore I'm unlovable and it's all my fault. And the second message was, the world's a dangerous place because I keep getting beaten. Hey, and I'll tell you what, mum even sent me to school in England. She was a German refugee.
wow,
My first school as a 5-year-old, she sent me to school in Lederhosen. So I got the out of me at school for being the crowd in the playground.
wow,
I just want a school uniform. Oh dear. Anyway, so what I learned from my childhood, looking back, it was violent, dysfunctional, but I didn't know that. I just thought this was normal. I wasn't the only kid going to school with black eyes.
yeah,
Um, and kids don't talk about what's going on at home like that because it's like taboo. It's family secrets.
yeah,
And so, but what I realized was that feeling, how I felt as a child in my family, that feeling became for me home,
yeah, wow,
home. And so it was full of drama and intensity. And so that subconscious or body memory or whatever you want to call it, MO, I took into adult life and I just kept creating drama and intensity and all these horrible situations. I always felt as if I didn't fit in, and my role within the family was I just became a super achiever. I got an amazing intellect. I was always in the top class of every school. I was always in the top 3 in every class, and so I became the perfect student, the perfect son to take the attention away from my dysfunctional family. Yeah, and the message I got from Dad was like, Dad never spends any time with me. Therefore, he doesn't love me. Therefore, I'm unlovable, and it's all my fault. And that's just what children do.
yeah. Do you now, as you look back now, like with those lessons, and obviously there's an incredible challenge for kids to be set up and programmed that way, and we'll go into that process, no doubt. But when you look back, like, do you now know your mum? Do you know why she was a volcano? Do you know why your dad was
Yeah,
incapable of sharing time? Yeah.
yeah. And here's another little story. Yeah, I had my first panic attack in November '84, and so Western medical model, chronic depression, life sentence, take these drugs.
Yeah.
Um, in '89, emigrated to Australia with my family, but they didn't like it, so they went back. But I knew I had to stay, and so I'm 6 years into antidepressants, and I was living in Fremantle, and we had a sweat lodge in the back garden, not bad for a fit turner, right? And, but I was at that place in my journey where, God, Mama, I hate you. You're always beating me. Why were you always beating me? But on the other hand, it's like you got to love your mum because you've only got one mum. And it
The
was
rules are
yeah,
must love mum.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You got to love your mum, and it was that dichotomy that was tearing my soul apart. So luckily, I came across the work of John Bradshaw. His counterpart today would be Gabor Mate, but I prefer John Bradshaw because of his passion and his energy. Anyway, with my new girlfriend, who eventually became a psychologist, so that was the end of that relationship.
Hmm.
We bought all of John Bradshaw's videotapes, and we were a bit of a healing centre anyway. So we used to play these videos 2 or 3 nights a week for our friends and people for a gold coin donation. And, you can imagine after a couple of months, I was word perfect on all of his stuff. It became ingrained in me. And that led me to, I sat down. I don't know why I did, but this that sounds like Harry Worth. I don't know why it is, but I sat down and I sat down and wrote the letter to Mum. And I thought it was just going to be a couple of pages, but it ended up being like War and Peace. It was a real tome. Anyway, dear Mum, I'm just writing to tell you my story of how I felt as a child growing up in our family. please, 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 mum, this is not about blame. I'm just telling you my story. Please tell me your story. So I started off, I hated it when you bashed me with a frying pan. I hated it when you dangled me by the wrist and hit me with a carpet sweeper. And, just because I've been going back to my only childhood with the help of John Bradshaw's stuff.
Yeah.
And recounting every time that I felt terrified or afraid or, not loved.
Mm.
And so I just wrote them all down, got it all out. It was like a great big vomit of, just my story. And so I signed off, please, mum, this is not about blame. Just tell me your story, And the hardest thing I did was walk to the post office and, and post that letter. That was monumental. I was trembling, but I knew I had to do it. Eventually, mum wrote back and said, "Oh, Bobby, 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 you must think I was the best mother in the whole world, but I was only doing my very best." So I wrote back, "No, mum, this is not about blame.
Mm.
Tell me your story." So 6 months passed, and she sends me her story. She was born in Germany, 1924, between the wars. Dad was an alcoholic. Her mum was a control freak. Her cousins were in the SS, although they were shot. And then I realised, mum had a shit childhood too,
Yeah.
And the light bulb went off. It was like, yes, I'm sitting here in the hate for mum. Yes, mum was doing her very, very best, but all she could do was dump on me what got dumped on her. With her story, I could move from hate through understanding back to love.
Mm.
And then a couple of days later, I found her in England. She was back in hospital, St John's Hospital, Newbury, Berkshire, with a second incidence of bowel cancer, 25 years apart. She was clear for 25 years, but she never heard the message of the first attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was the first time we spoke as mother and son. We were crying our eyes out. It was so uplifting. It was like somebody had taken an elephant off my shoulder. Anyway, three days later, she died.
Wow.
And I thought, what a beautiful closure. What a beautiful closure. And I say the elephant's lifted, and I thought, hey, hang on, what's this? What's this niggle in my shoulder? Right, Dad, you bastard. So I got the notepad out and
Oh
wrote
no! Wow.
a similar letter to Dad, who'd already died. I don't know where, somewhere in England. But I just, wrote, "Dad, why didn't you come to school sports days? Why didn't you take me fishing? Why didn't you, and then finished it off and put it in an envelope to Dad in heaven, and I burned it. And that way I closed that page on him. But the caveat to Mum's story was, I don't know, about 10 years ago now. I actually contacted Mum through a spiritual medium, and this lady told me stuff that only Mum and I knew,
Wow.
which blew me away anyway. And the message I got from Mum was saying, Bobby, 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 thank you so much for writing that letter, because I am now doing the same work with my parents in the beyond.
Wow. Okay.
And that blew me away. But the message I got out of that, and the bonus, the benefit, the gain that I got out of that is, by sharing our stories, I was actually able to break the multi-generational cycle of abuse.
I'm fascinated, Bob, because that letter, everyone has their story and everyone has their hurts and pains. And it's the not sharing that story, not having anyone listen to that story, that drives Kintsugi Heroes, right? We all have a story that we perhaps need to tell again, or, make, pass on to our parents. We probably should be able to get on the mend. That's right. Healing by sharing our stories. That's right. That's your group, which we get to in a bit. Now, it's interesting, perhaps we should be able to get onto the net and download a template of, story, letter to Dad, right? I suppose they are there, right? So, but once you resolve that, the programs that were left there, right? You can feel the need to, you can feel the elephant gone, but the programs are still in place. So, it's very difficult to move on. You mentioned your family, right? So, tell us a little bit about the journey through loves and losses around that stuff.
Well, Pam and I had been, I think we got married about 76, something like that. And it was convenient.
So you were quite young. You're still, and you trained as a craftsman, as a theatre and turner. Yeah.
But by that time, I'd also gone around the world as an engineering officer on P&O cruise liners, and came ashore. And I met Pam through her dad, Tom, who was in a folk band, and I love folk music. And so I ended up playing with Tom's folk band, and then met his daughter, Pam, who already had a little girl, Emma. And I don't know what love is, because I never knew what love was,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was like I'd been supplied an instant family. Pam and I got together, and we eventually got married. And so I had the extended family of Tom, and the folk group, and Pam and Emma. And at that time, I was working for SO in research. My mind was having a ball playing with all these, the best toys a boy can have. I was in vehicle testing, and frontline technology. And then Pam was running her little curtains, hand sewn curtains business, and she made curtains and stuff for people at the Queen's Equerry. And she
Wow.
was really top notch. She was earning as much as me, working from home. And so, within no time at all, although our first house, we had to tell a load of lies about income to get a loan, blah, blah, blah. But you manage. By the time we got to 1989, we had a 3-bedroom detached house, holidays in France, nothing flash, but we were comfortable. But it was like Pam and I never argued. We were both pressure cookers, if you like. Pam would do something that I found slightly innocuous, and instead of saying, "Well, I'd swallow it. Mustn't upset Mum because she'll get a flogging."
Yeah.
Yeah, and she did the same to me. So over the 12, 13 years of our marriage, we never shared our truth. So we were just two strangers living the magazine life in a magazine house in a magazine world.
Yeah.
And then when we came to Australia, during the last year, we'd stopped being totally nice to each other and started snapping at each other. So the writing was on the wall. So the idea of coming to Australia for a new life was just a load of bollocks.
Yeah.
Because all we did was we did a geographical.
Yeah.
But luckily, we arrived in November '89. So January, February '90, we sat down. They didn't like it. They wanted to go back, but I knew within my heart of hearts that this is where I was destined to be. So, and then we realized what was happening with our relationship, and we were actually just two strangers sharing the same house. And this trend of separation was only going to get worse. So the wisest thing we did then was sit down and say, well, what do you want to do? Pam said, I'll go back and take the kids. And I said, right, here's all our assets. Take what you want, from the sale of our house and stuff. Take what you want, but that's it. That's the line in the sand. Don't come back any later. So she took, no, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. I was left with about 50 grand Australian anyway, and she had the lion's share, and I was fine with that. She went back to the UK, hooked up with her sister, and they got a bed and breakfast in Weston-super-Mare or something. So they had a home that provided an income, and also she got her curtains thing. But that separation, when they went back, it was like I cried for 6 months, mate. Come home and there's no wife there, there's no son there, there's no stepdaughter there, and it was. But luckily, I had some great support from my friends in the folk scene and helped me get through that period. But it was the kindest cut, because if we'd have gone on and our angst and animosity, well, the kids could feel it already, and that's not an environment to bring children up in, because that was the same sort of, shit that I had when I was a kid. But that was it.
So they call that conscious uncoupling these days, right? So, which is you're quite advanced in that process, right? Which sounds very civilized. Because in many ways you weren't civilized, right? You sailed, you were on the tall ships, you were a traveling troubadour, right? That's not a civilized life. So where did that civilized Bob come from?
I don't know what you mean civilized. I suppose when I was working for SO and at the research centre, and best company I've ever worked for and the best job I ever had. And going there was like, I had a family of 400 people. You know, it was really such a really beautiful place to work. Well, I just follow my heart, you know. It was the done thing when working for SO, you know. I had my own, I'm only a research technician. I never went to university. It was like I was really, really good at networking.
Mm.
And so people used to come to me with a problem and they say, can you solve this? But I'd say, no, but I know a man who can, because on site there were about 250 of the top brains in the world.
Yeah.
And I knew most of them, got to know and what their specialities for. So I became like a, you know, yeah, Bob will fix it, but he'll build a team to do it, sort of thing. And through that, I just went up through the ranks pretty rapidly until I got as far as I could. And I could see, you know, the writings on the wall, you know, it's all going to plateau and flatten out. It's how boring. And that was part of the reason of coming to Australia, you know, to shake it up a bit and not have a mortgage anymore, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, which sounds more about the, you know, another form of elephant lifting off, just being in shackles to the man. Hey, when you came to Australia, you said you knew this is a place you had to be. What did you discover that purpose for being in Australia was?
Probably why I don't own a pair of shoes, John. It's I know on an energetic level, I knew on an energetic level that this just felt like coming home.
Mm.
And apparently, in a previous life, I was a tribal elder in the Northern Territory. So, you know,
So you were coming home.
yeah. So that was interesting. For me, it's all about energy, you know.
Yeah.
As I go through my day, does this feel uplifting for me, or is this, you know, not nurturing for me? And that's how I guide my journey.
How does a bloke start to be aware? Because so many Australians, unlike yourself, mate, they don't even sort of notice the energies. They don't notice the their own voice talking to them. How do you tap into that? How do you suggest someone connects to themselves?
I think one of the best things I ever did was learn how to turn my monkey mind off. People do it through meditation. As you know, everybody's unique. They'll find their own solution. And if you don't have a current solution, look at all the solutions out there and try one, because it's not going to hurt. But for me, I just imagined, I work in pictures, and I got this from Shakti Gawain and her creative visualization book. So for me, with this monkey mind thing, and it was a blessing to me when I was in research, you know, yeah, my intellect loved a challenge. But so one day I just closed my eyes and imagined I'm in an underground tunnel with fluorescent lights running down the tunnel. Dun, 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 dun. A bit like a James Bond movie, and I get to the end of a tunnel, and there's these huge glass doors, and I can see beyond the hard drives of my mind. So this is the computer room of my mind.
Wow.
So I go up to the doors, and they open, and I could hear the dark satanic hum of these hard drives spinning. Now, over on the right-hand wall, there's a big red switch. So I ambles over there, because sailors never walk anywhere. They're always rollicking or
They're
ambling.
rolling over, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I was rollicking over to the switch there, and somebody had put up a health warning. Please be aware, thinking can really damage your well-being. Look, good on you, mate. And so in my mind's eye, in this little video, I just grabbed hold of the lever and went, clunk. And then the hard drive started spinning down. And so I played that video over and over and over in my mind's eye until I came to the realization that my mind is just a tool that I use when I choose. And so now, being a custodian, a good parent, I know my intellect needs exercise, and it's like my dog, so I treat it like my dog. Okay, mind, I can see you're feisty today. Why don't you go off and do some research into sonoluminescence? So off it goes, wagging its little tail, because it's had some attention from the master. And it comes back, reports to me. I pat it on the head and say, thank you, mind. You've done a brilliant job, mate. Here's a treat, back in your basket. I'll take you for another run tomorrow. And that's the relationship that I have with my mind. It's just another tool in the toolbox of this spiritual mechanic.
Right. Beautiful. There's something to try there, mate. I love the visualization. I would, you grew up, spent quite a lot of time in the IT industry. I know that room, right? So I can visualize it quite easy. So, especially even the red latch. We used to put a sign on it saying, do not touch this red latch, which was, of course, enormously ineffective. The first thing everyone did was go over and stare at it. So, yeah, fabulous. Once you turned off your overthinking, what did you fill the space with?
Easy. It was already filled with my inner tuition.
Right. Which taught you or expressed itself how?
Really, my guide, I bet my life on trusting my intuition around about 2006. Whereas while I was trying to heal from my childhood, I totally lost belief in me. So that rite of passage of recapturing. Do you want me to tell that little story about how I recaptured it?
Please.
Yeah. Well, again, going back to John Bradshaw and his work on inner child, I asked myself this question. What's the earliest recollection I have of no longer believing in me?
Hmm.
And I was about 4 and 3/4 years old, because quarters are important when you're little.
Yeah.
It was a Sunday morning. I bounced out of bed and combed my hair and brushed my teeth and put on my red t-shirt and bounced down to breakfast. And Mum said, "Boy, go and put on your blue t-shirt. You know you love your blue t-shirt." So I stood up confused, thinking, "Oh, I love my red t-shirt. That's why I put it on." But Mum's mum,
Yeah.
and she's 80 foot tall and she's very violent. So I went up and I put my blue t-shirt on. And that's my earliest recollection of me no longer trusting in my inner knowing,
Yeah.
and bowing and taking the belief that somebody else has authority over my life. And that habit just extrapolated through my life. But by going to 2008, I was on my boat, Fidelia, in Pioneer Bay, up here, and it was about 7:30 at night. Pioneer Bay surrounded by mangrove trees where crocodiles live. And it's after dark, so the sharks are out feeding. And I was down below on my laptop on my little dog Barnaby's Facebook page, which always got a laugh. And all of a sudden the lights went dim and I couldn't breathe. I'd stopped breathing. I couldn't breathe. And I looked over to the voltmeter. It said 13 volts. So I knew it wasn't me, an electrical issue. And then just off to the side of my vision here, there was this black, silky wispiness that you see in like some of the mummy movies,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I turned my head around and I couldn't bring it into full focus. So I typed into Facebook, "Hey guys, can you get the volunteer marine rescue to come out and get Barnaby?" Because I thought I was going to die. I was having a stroke or something. And my fear was that when I died, after he'd eaten me, he'd starve,
Yeah.
So I still couldn't breathe. And I don't know about you, but in these moments of like near death, and I've had a few, time is irrelevant. Time is irrelevant. So I was looking at this wispiness and thought, "Oh no, bloody hell, it's all over, Red Rover. The Grim Reaper has come to get me." But I could have typed in, "Hey, get the ambos out here. I think I'm having a stroke."
Mm.
And I just sat and let my body do what it wants to. So I'm below decks. It's hot and humid. It's dark. It wouldn't be, in those conditions. And I just let my body walk up on deck, and I looked up and I saw 2 full moons, big full moons up there. And then my body just threw itself into the bay.
Crocodiles, sharks, and
yeah. And then I rolled over onto my back, and then all of a sudden there was and I spread out like a great big starfish. All of a sudden it just went, and I was breathing again. And that was the night I consciously chose to bet my life on my intuition. And that was my rite of passage.
wow.
That's what I said.
So intuition becomes a path, a shiny path for you, right? So where does it take you?
to contentment. It's amazing. Like all the books I've written, I haven't written them. They came through me, and they came through. Like, how can I explain it? Within the silence of my heart, now that my mind's silenced, within the silence of my heart, I found a place I call my knowing, and my knowing has no words. It's just like a feeling of indestructibility, of contentment, but it's also a place that contains a doorway to what I call the universal library of all there is to know. Some people call it the Akashic record.
Mm.
And simply by spending time, within, my connection to that place is getting stronger and stronger. And that's where my writing comes from. It's coming through me. And the same with my music. Although I've never written an original song, I've written a few parodies, but it's that process of being in the green room, getting shit scared and frightened. But that's the good thing, because it's my body, my soul, my spirit raising its level of vibration so that I can go out on stage and share that energy. And that's what people pick up on before I've even sung a note. It's what I'm radiating on stage. And if that process doesn't happen, I have a shit gig.
Yeah.
Because the energy is now, the channel isn't open, if you like.
Tell us a bit about your music. What have you? Where did it come from, and what have you done with it over the years?
I've even been in a klezmer bush dance band. Now, yeah. When did it begin? Am I 72? This is my 60th year as a paid stage performer.
Wow.
I started off in St Nicholas Church Choir at the age of 12, and we got paid £5 for a wedding or £5 for a funeral. Seems like God didn't differentiate between the two.
He was equally happy at either end of the process to give you £5.
Yeah. And then I've always sung. 14 or 15 in woodwork. I built my first guitar, but it was electric and I didn't like it. And I came across the world of folk music, sea shanties and traditional songs. Got myself a guitar and taught myself to play with Bert Whedon's Playing a Day's songbook, and it had some great tunes in there, like the Grand Old Duke of York. Yeah, I thought, this is a load of bollocks. So I came across a guy called Tim Harding, and his songbook, and what he said at the opening was, "It's don't complicate things. It's not what you put into a song, it's what you leave out." And I just loved that. I loved that. And so the first song I learned to play on the guitar was "If I Were a Carpenter" by Tim Harding.
Wow.
Yeah. And from there, I eventually joined a local rock band as lead vocal and tambourine player and a rhythm guitarist.
Yeah.
And we were called Bragg, and we were out 2 or 3 nights a week just playing pubs and clubs. And it was good. And then then when I finished my engineering apprenticeship and my engineering college stuff, I went to sea as an engineer, and I used to play regularly on. We always had a pub night on the boat, to entertain the passengers. Then when I came ashore, I got into folk music again with Pam's dad, Tom, and bands like the Berkshire Ramblers, Kelpie. Really, my music didn't take off until I came to Australia and quit my proper grown-up job with Sarich in Western Australia. Bought my combi and went off around Australia singing at all the folk festivals. In Western Australia, I play with lots of little plastic paddy bands. I know more Irish songs than most Irish people do. So I was out 3 or 4 nights a week in Irish clubs and Irish pubs, playing all night, doing the gallon of Guinness every night, and still getting home with one eye closed because there were too many white lines down the middle of the road.
Yeah.
But the music scene in Freo and Perth was very vibrant, and there was always different bands, and I got recruited to play for the Folk Federation annual bush dance, and the band was some friends of mine, a girlfriend at the time who was a Jewish ballet dancer and folk singer,
Right,
and she
of course.
had a band, and they were Jewish and klezmer, and there was a clarinet and a hurdy-gurdy and stuff. I like, But we pulled it off. We did a stats. But I've sung everything, blues, rock and roll. But my heart always goes back to folk music,
Yeah.
Irish music.
I see the guitar behind you. Do you have a 2-minute song in you? Tell us some story in music.
But I'm not up to concert.
Mate, no, and this isn't a concert. I'm not going to pay you anything. So you can give me the free version, mate.
This song is pivotal for me. Every time I sing it, I dedicate it to my son. Because, like, in my journey, my dad abandoned me when I was 6. And then with my son, we separated when he was 6. And it's called Sonny's Dream. And it's written by some guy from Newfoundland, and I can't remember his name. Sonny lives on a farm. It's a wide open space. You kick off your shoes and get out of the race. Lay down your head by a sweet riverbed. But Sonny always remembers the words his mama said. Sonny, don't go away. I am here all alone. Your daddy's a sailor, never comes home. And the nights are so long, silence goes on. And I'm feeling so tired and not all that strong. Now Sonny works on the farm, though he's barely a man. Not a lot to do, but he does what he can. And he watches the sea from his room by the stairs. The waves keep on rolling, they've done that for years. It's 100 miles to town, Sonny's never been there. But he goes to the highway and he stands there and stares. And the mail comes at 4. The mailman, he's old, but he still has his dreams full of silver and gold. So Sonny, don't go away. I am here all alone. Your daddy's a sailor who never came home. The nights are so long, the silence goes on, and I'm feeling so tired and not all that strong. Well, Sonny's dreams can be real. They're the stories he's read. They're the stars in his eyes and the dreams in his head. And he's hungry inside for this great big world outside. I know I can't hold him, though I've tried. How I've tried. Sonny, don't go away. I am here all alone. Your daddy's a sailor who never came home. The nights are so long, the silence goes on, but I'm feeling so tired and not all that strong. Sonny, don't go away.
Mate, that's an incredible song. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, I could see, like, in every line there's something, how does that connect you? Like, how is the relationship with your son and daughter and stepdaughter?
Well, after the separation, there was a little bit of communication, and they know where I am, but they just stopped communicating, and it takes 2 to tango, and that was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But Pan's done a great job in bringing him up. No, an engineer for British Aerospace,
Wow.
looking at alternative materials for aircraft and stuff. So yeah, that was hard, but you know, as I said, it takes two to tango. Yeah,
Everyone has their journey. Hopefully he gets to his letter.
yeah, hopefully too. Yeah.
Yeah. But that, but I felt that, I felt your son in that song, so thank you. That was surprisingly good, Bob. I didn't, I'm very impressed. Thank you. You know, not that I'm a critic you care about, but, so good.
I think what I have, even Lee Marvin had a #1 hit, didn't he? You know,
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Paint your wagon. Yeah.
so my fingers still haven't got the tips are hardened. You know, they need to. I need to play the guitar more often so I can get that clarity on the strings. And my voice has got a bit croaky over the years. But the more I sing, the more it clears itself out. So yeah, and I'm getting back into it because singing for me is every song I've learned really, apart from the ones you have to learn. But you know,
Yeah.
they've always had a story and always had an emotional message for me.
It's interesting, like the sea and the song always seem to go together. How come you've got like did the song come out of your love for the sea, or you know, is it sort of compulsory to have a song when you're on the sea, right? What's the story there?
Well, when I got into the folk scene, everybody back then, which is like 69, 70, was singing sea shanties. Everybody in the folk club knew them, and they're dead easy. They're call and response, you know.
Yeah.
You can make them up as you go.
Yeah.
Also, I'm Cancerian, so I'm, you know, I'm the crab. I've got connection to water, and so although shanties weren't really prevalent in my UK musical offerings, when I got to Australia and Fremantle, I joined the crew of the STS Lewin 2 three-masted barkentine. That has recently been crushed alongside B-Shed, Victoria Key, by a huge bloody container ship, got totally dismasted. Anyway, yeah, so I got involved with the Lewin, and there was a sea shanty band in the area called the Folksall Firkins. You should see what we've been called in the press.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we were touring, we were touring a bit, you know, when we could, sponsored by Guinness and Healthway. So I never
Yeah.
knew how that worked out. I was a great asset because I knew loads of shanties and I played the guitar and the banjo, a bit of mandolin, and the bodhrán, the Irish drum.
Yep.
And we even played for Prince Charles one day in, I think it was 93, 94, when he came over to look at the Bark Endeavour replica that we built because it was patron. And there he comes off the boat, you know, after looking round. He's got his entourage in black suits and dark glasses with him. And we're on the dock there. Endeavour was her name, me boys. Endeavour she did show. Oh, the Collier ventured where no other ship would go. Charlie leans forward to me, puts his hand out, and he said, "Jolly fine song, chaps. And you seem to know all the words." And I looked straight in the eye and said, "Yes, mate, we wrote it." So that no chance of a knighthood for me, mate.
No. Yeah, Order of Australia gone in one smart ass riposte.
It was truth. It was the truth, you know.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the truth will set you free, right? So you know,
Yeah.
free of worrying about having to put a suit on for a ceremony. Interesting, you know, because it sounds like your music and success and intentional healing and all of that stuff, right? But of course, there's plenty of setbacks in your story, mate, and challenges. So, what did you learn about those things? What were the tough times for you?
Well, again, because I'm master and commander and take full responsibility, when I look at my depression and the onset of that and all that followed, I say to myself, okay, you've created this event, this phenomenon in your life. What's the lesson you need to learn from it?
Yeah.
And the lesson I needed to learn was to stop living my programming, go and question everything, to establish my own truth. And so I did. I just started questioning everything. And I was so angry when I realized that everything I held as true was absolute load of lies. What I got from my parents, what I got from the indoctrination system, what I got from the mainstream media, it was all a pack of lies. So I set that to be my life purpose, to simplify my own truth.
You wrote a book about your depression and your journey out of it, and you describe it as a gift.
Yeah, it was after 20 years of taking just about every antidepressant legal,
Yeah.
going, and it shouldn't be legal. Yeah, I just realized that they were doing what they were intended to do, which was keep me away from my feelings. I was living life like Robert the robot, not in touch with my feelings. And it was only when it was on the boat again, threw my meds in the bay. So there's probably a load of psychotic sharks out there now. And then, luckily, being on the boat, I just let my body do what it needed to do to cold turkey. And I don't recommend it for anybody because 2 or 3 times a day I go to hell and back. I was shaking, screaming, sweating, vomiting, just with the underlying belief that my body knows what it needs to do, and I'm just going to let it do it.
Yeah.
It's not something you do in the supermarket. They throw you in the loony bin.
Yeah. Well, you probably got to find a shark-filled bay to go through this with, so no one disturbs you. So, and of course, you've walked that truth through physical challenges and so on. You're dealing with illness and cancer and so on. How do you hold to that? I know it's a hard walk.
Well, again, with this prostate cancer, again, I ask myself this question: why have I created this event in my life, and what's the lesson I need to learn from it? And as soon as I asked the universe that question, it came back, bang. The universe just said to me, Bob, it's time for you to put up or shut up. You either fold back into your programming of the Western medical model, or you walk your talk about nature, natural remedies. Science is the sickness and nature is the cure. So it's really, I've created this, and it's through all the term cancer and stuff means, it has given me so much energy, so much incentive to find my way through. I did it my way. And actually, this may sound weird, but this journey I'm on, I do feel like Captain. I'm on a voyage of discovery.
Yeah.
Using my body as a laboratory and natural remedies. Well, I'll try this. What's the impact on my body? Is it good or is it bad? If it's good, I keep it and I try this. And so using lots of natural remedies like chlorine dioxide and borax, baking soda, Celtic sea salt, my little hot tub paddling pool, my nebulizer with chlorine dioxide. When I try and measure it, see, my GP's scared because my PSA numbers are still, rising. But all my hundreds of blood tests are all perfect.
Yeah.
I'm the only one taking a whole view of my condition. And my yardstick for what I'm doing is, well, what's my quality of life like today? And what was it like 3 months ago?
Yeah.
3 months ago, I was in level 8 pain for a lot of the time. Now I'm very rarely in pain, only at night, and it's just enough to stop me from sleeping. But I remedy that by taking a walk or taking a chuff. And so and that just says to me that what I'm doing is working for me, and just reinforces this belief that I totally trust in my own process. And the only time I experience any fear is when I forget that for a while. So I just remind myself I totally trust in my own process.
Wow. And of course, that's a brave journey as well, because all the other voices are telling you that it's not the right choice. So, how does courage work for you?
I've never been in a fist fight in my life. So I'm not manly in that way, mainly because my childhood was so violent. But I've been down in the engine room of a cruise liner where the starboard turbine's on fire and we're listing 22 degrees to port, crossing the Irish Sea, and there's 20 odd engineers down there shitting themselves because they think they're either going to explode or tip over. So I've been there, done that, and that was just part of my life at sea. And I've faced many fires, but facing my demons is like just another level. What I realized was, what was my fear? What was my fear when I had that panic attack? And so my body's overwhelmed by all those feelings, you know. And that's what prompted the antidepressants, because they cut me off from them so I could function as Robert the robot. But going back and realizing that the power of those feelings that I was having at the time are simply a measure of how powerful I truly am. So it's about owning them, absorbing them, honoring them. And so with that level of power, what's a few demons, you know?
Be gone, demons.
Yeah.
Thou shall not pass. Right. You know, I love that. You look a bit like Gandalf, mate. So that's cool. Or with that, you know, with that decision and that understanding that you can own the power, you know, bring it back into your hand. You choose, you know, you have, you know, you popped up on your T-shirt on the Mend, right? A group that you run for blokes up in the up in North Queensland, right? And you offer service in a number of places and so on. What is that the purpose of this journey? Is that, you know, is it about, you know, finding our truth and then sharing, you know, and being in service to others?
Well, going back to all are sovereign, unique, and equal, I see every sentient being as holding a piece of the jigsaw puzzle, like the meaning of life, you know. But most people's piece of jigsaw puzzle is still brown cardboard on both sides. As you do more and more of the works, so you start coloring in your piece of the puzzle. And when you put it on the table, as more and more people do that, the bigger picture becomes clearer for us all, which led me to the realization, simply by sharing our stories, we help to heal each other.
Yeah.
And it is that simple. Keep it simple, sovereign.
Yeah.
The mind complicates things. You get discussion panels and, you know, all that blah, blah, blah headspace. But the answer's simple. Feelings are healings. All you have to do is sit around a campfire and share your truth. You know, if you want to, no pressure.
Feelings are healings. I'm going to have to, you know, take that and, you know, that's our snippet. Feelings are healing. Given that, what do you want the world to do, right? Or to change or to know?
Well, my mission, which is all that drives me at the moment, this is my main source of energy, if you like. My mission is to eradicate suicide. And from what I've experienced in my life, I know it is doable. And for me, there is no such thing as mental illness, but that's another story. One of my YouTube videos talks about that, so people can check that out if they want to. But I can, you know, from my own standpoint, I can prove logically in heart space that there is no such thing as mental illness.
Yeah.
And my explanation for that is, like my depression was which is a set of behaviors. Yeah. And the psychs put a label on it, but it's just a set of behaviors. Bang, my depression was just my body telling me to wake up. And I reckon everything else these bastards have labeled and put a label on, all those different behaviors, are just that person's unique way. His body or her body is saying, come on, you need to wake up. And the longer you stay asleep, the more painful I'm going to be for you. And so that's why I said there's no such thing as mental illness. When people do the work and find their center and get in touch with their heart, then, and it's happening, John, it's happening. You know, we're well into the age of integrity. Integrity is overcoming power. I think we passed the tipping point. And I'm just so blessed to be alive to witness the ascension of us as humans. Because for me, it's all done, dusted. We have won. We have won. That's pretty deep, eh?
Yeah, yeah, we just read that. But it's even better than that. It's not just deep, it's positive, it's exciting, it's inspiring, which is why I love hanging out with you, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to listen to some of the truth, Bob Eden's truth, which is extraordinary. And I just want to thank you for sharing so boldly, another evidence of your courage, and for singing for us, mate. It was absolutely delightful.
And thanks for prompting me to sing, because it wasn't, it wasn't in there. But yeah, I'm glad I did. It was such a beautiful song, though.
Beautiful song, beautiful. It's been a joy to chat, mate, and I look forward to the next time. So thank you, Bob Eden.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Connecting Seniors, a Kintsugi Heroes special series. If you enjoyed this conversation, share the podcast with a friend and let us know by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support Kintsugi Heroes and the stories we share, head to kintsugiheroes.com.au and follow the instructions to make a tax-deductible donation. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.